Just like to welcome everybody to the Nightly News Media Club, our very first inaugural podcast we are doing here on the campus of Central Penn College here in Somerdale, Pennsylvania. We're also joined today by a podcast committee member, Nasir Harris.
Hello, this is Nasir Harris Podcast Committee.
We look forward to branching out with the podcast, but this is our first crack at it, so please forgive us if we are a little on the rusty side.
Nasir was my third child. He has two older sisters and two younger sisters, but he was always the big brother. We moved to Harrisburg when Nasir was about 8 or 9, going to Camp Curtin School. That's when he fell in love with communications. He loved people. He loved his family. He loved his sisters dearly. You know, always wanted to carry them around. If we were going shopping, he would push them in the cart. Everybody he met just loved him, from the teachers to the neighbors, all male, females. That's just how he was.
I love my son. He was my partner, watching football. We talked about girls together. And like my wife said, he was very close. He really didn't want to open up to me. Pop, I ain't talking about that with you. You know what I mean? So he had his friends and that he talked to things about. And he really loves his, he only had two, a niece and a nephew. And he did everything he could for them. Played with them, always trying to make life a little better.
Nasir took time to search for Central Penn. It wasn't that he just, I like the name, I like the location. He was serious about what he wanted to do in life. And it always had something to do with communication or performing. So I was glad that he chose Central Penn. But Nasir was a very private person. And a lot of this that you guys said he did, we didn't know. We didn't know. It was just him. He never complained. He never had a worry. He would just take care of his business. Mom, I'm a man. I said, yes, son, I know you're a man, but I'm mom. I just want to share some of this stuff with you. So he was very happy and very pleased with Central Penn. Some of the mornings I didn't even have to call him. Nasir, get up. He'd be running out the door, going to Central Penn. So I think he made a good fit with them. It was June of 14th, the birthday of my life. I was sitting down here and I was working on the computer and I heard my son yell. He said, Mom. And I got up from the steps because of the type of yell that it was, you just knew. So as I was going to the 3rd floor, he called me again and he said, Mom, I need you. And I said, son, I'm coming. So when I got to the top of the stairs, there he was. And I said, son, what's going on? What's going on? And he said, Mom, my stomach hurt. And that's all he kept saying. And he was rocking. It was by then I knew he was in trouble. And when things like this happen, you don't think clearly. Because I had to come down and unlock the door. And I said, son, I got to go unlock the door so they can get in. So he said, okay, Mom. So I ran back up. I said, son, I'm right here. I'm right here. I said, son, you okay? He said, I'm okay. Meanwhile, I had the phone in my hand, and I called his dad. I said, "You need to get here right away." He said, "What's going on?" I said, "It's Nasir." I said, "He's in trouble."
The day they called I was at work, and I don't know if he was supposed to on his way to school that day. He was getting ready for school. And when they called me for that day, it was a sad day, but he was doing what he always do: go to school, go to work, and take care of his family. Let me done for a minute. Yeah.
He had stopped breathing. Being in the medical field, I could tell he stopped breathing. The feeling in that room that day, I knew my son was in trouble. I started praying. I was praying. I said, "God, don't take my son. Please don't take my son." And I couldn't get anybody else. I got his sister. And I didn't want to tell her over the phone. I said, "Come home. You got to come home right now."
Eventuality, I knew that me being a professional myself and know how long that takes, that Nasir had passed. It was a hard time, but and after that, I had to think about my children, my wife. So I really didn't have a time to think about my personal self because I had things to do. So that's what I did.
You hear people talk about a dark day. It was a dark day. It just seemed like it was so dark. And all I could do was just hold my son. And the one thing that does give me some peace is when I was going upstairs the night before, he was sitting right on the sofa. I stopped on the steps and I said, "Son, you feel better?" He said, "Yeah, Mom." I said, "I love you, son." He said, "I love you, Mom." And I don't know, it just seemed like towards the end, me and my son had just gotten so much closer. I was always, "Son, get out here and go to school. You better not be late," because I know he loved what he did. And I said, "Son, I'm looking for the day one day I'm going to hear your voice on the radio. And you'll be dedicating something to me and your dad." And we laughed about it. We always laughed about it. But I will never forget him calling me. And I thank God I was there when he needed me.
Words of encouragement. Faith in God is my family's mainstay. If you don't have that faith in a higher power that connects you with your children, then some people turn to drugs, alcohol, different means to sedate their pain. Our strength was in our faith. Coming together as a family, praying together, doing what we could to make each other comfortable in that time of need. But I knew it was my responsibility to do the best I could, to be the leader like I am in my family. It's my job. So I did what I had to do, and thank God for giving me the strength to do that. And right now, with this interview, I thought about it this week, and all them old feelings are coming back. You know, you get to a place where you be on a level, you go to work, you do what you do on a normal basis. And me and my son had a thing when the Eagles game came on, when they all touched down, we say bang. We always did that. So we found a way to, you know, you quite found a way to coexist. He's still here. He'll always be in our heart.
Nasir was my best friend. It was the purest form of a brother-sister relationship you could probably ever have. Like, in a lot of ways, my little brother and his personality completed me. Like, in a lot of areas where I lacked, like sometimes boldness and being expressive of myself, Nasir would step in and teach me how to be better at those things, because those were the things he was great at. So whenever I was scared or I was afraid of something, Nasir was always that person behind me, pushing me forward. And then in the areas of his life, like, you know, just organization sometimes, or staying on top of things, those things that he wasn't great at, that's where I would step in and try to help him out. And, you know, we helped complete each other's puzzle a little bit. I believe Nasir could have done anything. Like, when we would watch like stand-up comedy specials and stuff and see the people on the big stages and the arenas, I had no doubt in my mind that that would eventually be my brother. We were just, it was like we were waiting on the moment whenever, you know, he wanted to pursue comedy school. So we were waiting on him to do that. But there was no doubt in my mind that if Nasir, if he was exposed to a larger crowd and people could see like his charisma and the way that he could relate to people and the ideas he had, that he would just take off. My little sister Naima went to Shippensburg University at the same time he did, and he did his radio show there.
Nasir had a great idea to bring something different to Shippensburg campus, and he linked up with another gentleman named Marcus, and they started the WSYZ radio station. They had the night show, the evening show from like 6 to 7, or maybe even 7 to 8. They did it every night, one night a week, and it was great. Everybody loved it. Nasir got like instantly famous over campus, and I didn't even know at first how like infamous he was becoming until we would walk around campus together, and it would just, people would just flock to him and ask him about his radio show, give him topics to talk about, because he was always a funny guy. So everybody loved to hear his jokes and his opinions on different things. So that was great. So I got a little famous too on campus because my big brother was the thing on Shippensburg campus. But his shows were great. He played really good music. He catered to the people that he was targeting. He was really good at that. He had jokes. They had all night specials where they would give away iPods and things for class for students to get. You just had to listen to the show all night and call in and answer a question, and you would get to get away the prize. So Nasir was really good at that, and he loved it. He loved it a lot. He was on cloud nine. That was his thing. He liked to perform. He liked to get his voice out there, and he really liked radio. He really, really liked radio, because you can't, I mean, when you see people in person, you can form your own things, but you can always hide behind the radio. You just hear a voice. So you get to know that person on the inside without the exterior. And that's what Nasir really liked. He really liked getting his voice out there and being heard without other outside influences. But he, like I said, he was in his element. That was his thing. He loved it. That's probably why he started the podcast at Central Penn, just to get back in his element. I just miss his jokes. We had inside jokes all the time. Sorry. He was just a great person. I was his younger sister, so I got a different experience than the two older ones. He was always so protective of us, almost overbearing. So, and sometimes I have to tell him, like, Nasir, I'm grown, leave me alone. But, you know, he always was just, are you okay? Do you need anything? What can I do? Can I help you with this? He just was always so helpful to me. And he helped me through a lot of stuff, especially up at school together. And I just miss our nights together, our fun times. He was always a fun time. I don't really remember arguing with Nasir. And if we did, even if I was wrong, he would be the one to say, oh, I'm sorry. Let's move past it. So I just miss his presence in general. Me and my parents listened to his podcast. I think Central Penn posted it on his page. We listened to that maybe earlier this week we did. But that's always great because we get to hear his voice. You know, some people don't have that privilege after they lose somebody. They're kind of gone forever except for your memories or photos. But that's what's great about Nasir. Even now, he still left a piece of him so we could be comforted and we can hear his voice whenever we want. So that's always a plus.
I'm Nicole Harris. I'm Nasir's youngest sister. I am the baby. My brother was just a ball of fun. Like, there's no other way to describe him. He always had a smile on his face. He always was full of energy. I don't remember a time that he didn't have me laughing to tears. Our last memory together was the Roots picnic, and he came down, and the whole entire time he had everyone laughing, dancing. That's just what's Nasir. You couldn't be unhappy around Nasir. I've tried, and he's the type of person to just keep picking with you until you start smiling again. So Nasir is just everything to us. He kept us together. Even when we would fight amongst each other as girls, Nasir would always be the glue to bring us back into the fold. Well, Nasir used to get the best of us. See, we would gang up on him because we couldn't beat him one-on-one, but somehow he still won every time. I don't remember ever getting the best of Nasir.
Right.
Yeah.
Plus, he had mom on his side, so if we
Yeah.
did get the best of him, he'd tell mom, and
Right.
that'll end everything right there. When he was the only boy that lived in the house with us, so he got all the special treatment. He got all the perks. He didn't have to cook. He didn't have to clean. He didn't have to do anything. He just had to be Nasir, and he enjoyed it, and we enjoyed him.
I just want Nasir to know that he dedicated a great portion of his life being a great uncle to my children, and he was great with them. Like, he always had them on video camera doing something, whether they were playing ninjas or some type of Wild Wild West period film that he was trying to make with them. He spent a lot of quality time with them, and I really appreciate that, and they really miss him a lot. He really gave a lot of himself to my children and to me. He helped me to get my career off and get it started again. I was a stay-at-home mom for a while, and he helped me to get my career back on track. He watched the children for me, and I really appreciated that. But Nasir was just a great overall person, a great communicator. He was fun, and I just miss him.
I would just want to tell him that I love him and I miss him. And we're very competitive as far as like reaching goals and stuff like that. But I think you've topped us all at this point. We ain't never had no documentaries made about us. So you winning, bro.
I would say I love him, I miss him, and I'll take up the role of being the goofball. He was the primary goofball. I was always secondary, but I'm still hiring El DeBarge for everybody's wedding. So.
And I remember the last thing I said to him, like the last time I saw him live was that Monday before Wednesday. And he was sitting on this couch right here. And he had came in from work and I was getting ready to go back to my apartment. And we did our normal thing. Gave him a big hug. I gave him a kiss. He was real tired that day. I just told him I loved him. So I'm glad that I know that that was the last thing I said to my brother. So he already knows how I feel about him. I told him many, many times before. So I just love you. I miss you. I know he's probably having a great time wherever he is. And I'll see you later.
Remember your children or any loved ones that you have, because here and here what it really matters, whether they're here or not. If you love someone, you ain't got to see them to love them. You just got to love them unconditionally and what they brought to you in your life. And Nasir was a joy to us from the day he was born.
Well, one thing that I do with his siblings and with his dad is to remind them who Nasir was. And don't keep him in that box of that one day when we lost him. We got to thank God for the 28 years that he gave us. And 28 good years. He wasn't a bad boy. He wasn't a bad man. He was a good person. He was a good human being. And we try to hold on to that. If we hold on to that last 2 hours, 3 hours, we're going to stay stuck. So move Nasir out of that box, because he was larger than life. And let's celebrate his life. Let's pray for each other. Let's encourage each other. We always said we loved each other. We always did. So we don't have any bad feelings.
I miss everything. Mostly, I just miss like his big bear hugs. He's a big guy, so whenever I wasn't feeling good or, you know, I would just see him. We were just very affectionate. We're a very affectionate family, so you don't leave a room without hugging somebody or leave their presence without hugging them first. So he would just always wrap me up in a big hug, tell me he loved me, and then we would, go our separate ways. So
he knew he was loved. We knew he loved us. So I tell people when they tell me of their loss, remember the life. We always hold on to the negative, and we kind of forget about the good times. Let the negative go. We got to make peace with it. And we got to continue to live and continue to love each other and continue to grow and continue to show people who our son, our brother was. And that was his life. I've never met one person in 28 years who could say they didn't like Nasir. When Nasir passed, I had some of his professors find my house and come in and said we just had to come. There were so many people, doctors, nurses that I worked with, counselors he worked with, people who had just seen him in passing that just wanted to come and say, I'm sorry, offer their condolence, and just share with the family. People, what I want to say is love one another. Love one another. That's what my son did. He was about love. He was about peace. He was about helping. Nasir means helper. That's why we gave him that name. And that's what he done for 28 years. He helped people. So love your children. Love your loved ones. Because as you hear people say time and time again, tomorrow's not promised. And you couldn't have told me the night before that I would have lost my son that day. But we got to do that. We got to do it before it's too late. So I would encourage everyone who have lost someone, celebrate their life. Don't mourn too much in their death. You got to keep moving. Well, I believe in my heart that my son is in paradise. I pray for him every day. As Muslims, we pray 5 times a day, and that's my time to pray for my son, that whatever sins he done, God will forgive him for it, increase his good deeds, and usher him into paradise. And I believe that in my heart, because he was a good person, he was a good man, he was a good son.
I'm about to go in, Coop. I'm about to do my thing, Coop. I'm about to do my thing. Chalkboard. Graham crackers, all these things make my pockets fatter. Me and Coop riding around campus, the car look like tomato soup, crackers, sandwiches, all these things make me a little happy. I don't know, man. I'm done. We in here. Okay, good.
My name is Dr. Karen Scalforo, and I'm the president of Central Penn College. The one thing that a college president never wants to face is the loss of one of our own. On June 14th, that's exactly what happened when one of our Central Penn College family members passed away. Nasir Harris was a highly respected and talented member of our nightly news team. Nasir had an impact across our college community, and he will be greatly missed.
Humanities and Sciences was so fortunate to have Nasir as our work study. In that position, he supported the faculty, staff, and students of my school, and I will be forever grateful to him for the work and service he provided. In our office, he was always a calming presence, quick with a laugh and a smile, and he will be sorely missed by myself, my faculty, and the students of Central Penn College.
I met Nasir a few years ago. He was my student in communications classes. I was also his faculty advisor. And what I always remember most about Nasir is, well, he was a large presence. You know, he was known far and wide as Big Nas. But he was large in many ways. He was just a huge personality. And one of the things I always could count on, not that I expected him to do it, but I knew it would be the case with Nasir, was if he would see me, he'd always say hi. He was always happy. He always asked how I was doing. He asked whether I needed help with anything. And most of the time, I really couldn't figure out what it was he might help me with, but he said that. So that's a big memory about Big Nos that I have. And another thing, too, is he was always happy. He always seemed to be in a good mood. And that's a good thing for anyone, but the particularly good thing about that for Nasir was he brought that into the classroom and on campus. Anyone who knew him knew that he was like that all the time. In class, he could be a very, very effective moderating force because he was very much a gentleman, and sometimes when there was heated discussion, he would step in with a cool head and he'd say, hey, all right, let's wait a minute and take another look at this from a different perspective. Never saw the guy get riled up, always like that. And his comments were always salient. They always added something to the discussion, and I miss him.
Nasir Harris meant the world to us here at Central Penn College, but specifically to the communications program and the Nightly News Media Club. Nasir was one of the original members of the club and was actually one of the original podcasters we ever had.
I remember Nasir specifically because he is one of the very few people that has ever actually interviewed me. I'm usually the host on the Nightly News, but Nasir interviewed me for a couple of different workshops I was doing, and it really meant the world to me. The effort that he put in, the enthusiasm that he had, the passion that he had for broadcasting. And it was really wonderful to have the opportunity to work with him, and he really means so much to the club, so much to the college, and so much to our whole entire communications department. While Nasir, unfortunately, is no longer with us, he's always going to be part of the Nightly News because of what we're doing with the podcast studio dedication today, because he was so instrumental in us doing what we do here to this day at Central Penn College, and he will be always remembered by our communications department and the Nightly News.
Mm-hmm.